Welcome to today's live reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Guru Dintaram Parman Matam Shri Chaitanyeshwara. I am that Sat. So yesterday we were reading that how Rishi Shringa, that how the daughter of Raja Dashrath, Shanta, she was asked to be given to I've lost the name, sorry. This is a bit so what is best? I'll try reading that again so it will be more clear even to me, because I'm a little bit confused myself. Apologies for that. So due to some offense on the part of King Rama Bala, there once came to be an extremely severe drought within his kingdom, causing great fear among all the living beings. When the conditions became intolerable, Maharaj Rama Bala summoned his council of learned Brahmanas and inquired from them the cause of the drought. I know that it is because of some fault of mine that this terrible drought has now overcome my kingdom. O best of the twice born, because your knowledge is boundless, please prescribe the proper atonement for my past sins. The Brahmanas replied, O king, there is a great Brahmana sage named Mrigi Rishi who is residing in the forest. Mrigi Rishi is the son of Kashyap and his son is named Rishya Shringa. If you can bring this Rishi's son to your kingdom and give him your daughter Shanta in marriage, the drought will immediately end. Shanta was actually the daughter of Maharaj Dashrath, but had been given to King's childless friend Rama Bala at the latter's request. King Rama Bala was very glad to learn the means for ending the drought, but when he requested his priests to summon Rishi Shringa, they refused. The Brahmanas explained, O king, we fear that Mrigi Rishi will curse us if we try to lure his son away from home. Rishi Shringa has been brought up by his father in complete isolation. He has never even seen another human being. Because Rishi Shringa has never once beheld a member of the fair sex, he is completely unaware of the pleasure of their association. My dear king, since we desire your welfare, we have devised a method for bringing Rishi Shringa to your kingdom. Have the most beautiful of courtesans go there and allure him with their feminine ways. We are certain that by this means your aim will easily be accomplished. Maharaj Rama Bala agreed to their plan and then sent for the foremost of young and beautiful prostitutes. After being thus instructed by the king and promised sufficient rewards, the girls departed for the forest, determined to bring back the young Rishi at all costs. Thereafter the prostitutes set up their camp at the ashram of Mrigi Rishi and waited for the opportune time. It so happened that one day Rishi Shringa wandered away from the home and came to the camp of the prostitutes. Seeing him, the girls jubilantly approached Rishi Shringa. Then they asked about his identity. The boy replied, I am the son of Mrigi Rishi and I am engaged in performing austerities nearby at my father's ashram. How wonderfully beautiful all of you are to look at. I wish that you would come to my home and accept my worship and hospitality. The prostitutes then went with Rishi Shringa, where they were very nicely received at his ashram with offerings of water to drink, water for washing their feet, and various kinds of fruits and roots. However, the girls were extremely afraid of the father's imminent return and did not wish to stay too long. As they were leaving, they said, My dear friend, our custom for receiving guests are quite different from yours. Now please accept our offerings of honor and respect in return." Saying this, the girls, they embraced Rishishringa tightly with great affection and then fed him sumptuous sweets. Never before had the Rishi's innocent son tasted anything so pleasing, for he had been accustomed to eating only fruits and roots. Indeed, he thought that the sweets were a type of wonderful fruit. Moreover, since he had previously seen only his father, he took the prostitutes to be enchantingly beautiful men. After the girls departed, Rishishringa began to experience feelings of unease and restlessness within his heart. The seed of lusty desire which had remained dormant within his heart had sprouted. Rishishringa began to constantly think of the beautiful women. Rishishringa could hardly sleep that night. His mind and heart became overwhelmed by the thoughts of their sweet speech and tender embraces. Unable to think of anything else, the following day Rishishringa went to the prostitutes' camp. The girls received Rishishringa with great delight and then explained that this is not our real home. Please come aboard our magnificent floating hermitage and accompany us to a place where we will be able to entertain you in a much better fashion. We have many nice varieties of fruits and roots, and we shall pass the time so enjoyably that you will hardly be able to perceive how time is passing. Being captivated at heart, Rishishringa unhesitatingly accompanied the prostitutes. Thus the women allured him back to the capital of Romapad within the kingdom of Anga. Indeed, even Rishishringa was being carried down the Ganga. Indra began to send forth showers of rains, giving joy to all the living creatures. As soon as he understood that Rishishringa had arrived, King Romapad came out of his palace and bowed down before the young Rishi. Then, after worshipping Rishishringa with great attention, Romapad escorted him into the inner apartments of his palace, where he presented his daughter to the Rishi in charity. When he could understand that Rishishringa was fully satisfied, Maharaj Romapad begged from him the benediction that neither he nor his father would show their wrath toward him because of the duplicitous manner in which he had allured Rishishringa away from home. Rishishringa gave the king his assurance, and thereafter the marriage between him and Shanta was celebrated with great festivity. After the wedding, the newly married couple continued to live in Maharaj Romapad's palace and thus passed their days happily in royal comfort. Sumantra concluded his narration to Maharaj Dashrath. "O king, Sanat Kumar predicted that you would take help from your friend Romapad by requesting him to allow Rishishringa to come to the kingdom of Kaushal and perform a horse sacrifice. It was further indicated that after the performance of the horse sacrifice, you would gain the fulfillment of your desires by receiving 4 incomparable sons." Maharaj Dashrath was very pleased to hear this story from Sumantra. Then, without delay, he went with his retinue to the kingdom of Anga. There he was received by Maharaj Romapad with great respect, and at that time the king of Anga informed Rishishringa that Dashrath was his real father-in-law. After enjoying Romapad's hospitality for about 1 week, Maharaj Dashrath addressed his friend as follows: "For a long time I have been morose on account of not having a son to perpetuate my illustrious dynasty. Now I beg you to allow Rishishringa to come to Ayodhya to perform a horse sacrifice on my behalf." Romapad happily agreed, and Maharaj Dashrath soon returned to his capital with Rishishringa and Shanta. Then, when spring arrived, Maharaj Dashrath humbly approached Rishishringa, begging him for instructions regarding the performance of the horse sacrifice. Thus preparations for the sacrifice commenced, and a site was selected on the northern bank of the river Saryu. The system was for an emperor to send a challenge horse all over the world to establish his supremacy over subordinate kings. The horse would be accompanied by soldiers of the emperor, and upon his arrival in a kingdom, the local king would either have to offer tribute to the emperor's representatives or fight to capture the horse. Any ruling prince or king was at liberty either to express his tacit willingness to obey the emperor or to accept the challenge and thus obey the supremacy of the particular emperor. One who accepted the challenge had to fight with the emperor's men and establish his own supremacy by victory. The defeated challenger would have to sacrifice his life, making place for another king or ruler. Only when the horse returned after touring the world with no more challengers left could a horse sacrifice begin. Understanding that King Janak would be the future father-in-law of his sons, King Dashrath sent him the first invitation. Likewise, other subordinate kings were also requested to attend the sacrifice. After one full year, sorry, I think something fell down here. After one full year, the challenge horse returned to Ayodhya, having wandered over the earth under the protection of 400 princes. Only then could the sacrifice begin. After the preliminary rites had been performed, Maharaj Dashrath's eldest queen Kaushalya circumambulated the challenge horse, which was tied to one of the sacrificial stakes. Then with 3 strokes of a sword, she severed the horse's head as prescribed by the scriptural injunctions. Now this is something very new to me. Thereafter Rishishringa offered the fat of the dead horse to the sacrificial fire. Maharaj Dashrath was directed to inhale the fumes to free him from all sins. Then the assisting priests offered the limbs of the horse into the sacrificial fire, bringing the 3-day sacrifice to an end. So the yajna was completed. Maharaj Dashrath then gave away the 4 directions of the earth in charity to the 4 chief priests. The Brahmanas returned the gifts, however, saying, "O king, we are devoted to the Vedic study and the performance of the austerities and have no interest in ruling over a kingdom. Therefore, please give us other gifts like cows and gold." Rishishringa then approached Maharaj Dashrath, saying, "My dear king, you will surely receive 4 glorious sons. However, I propose that a separate sacrifice known as Putreshti be performed for that purpose." Maharaj Dashrath readily assented, and soon the sacrifice was begun. Meanwhile, in the high planets, the chief demigods approached Lord Rama and explained, "O grandsire, because of your benedictions, Ravan has become so powerful that he is harassing everyone at will. Even we cannot subdue the wicked Rakshas. Therefore, we request you to personally devise the means for his destruction." Lord Brahma considered the situation and then replied, "At the time of asking for benedictions, Ravan did not bother to ask for immunity from death at the hands of human beings, for he considered them to be too insignificant." While Brahma was thinking how Ravan could be killed, Lord Vishnu suddenly appeared, riding on his carrier Garud, as effulgent as many suns. Lord Vishnu appeared in his 4-armed form, dressed in bright saffron garments and carrying his disc, conch, club and lotus flowers. The regular what should call them, the regular we can't call them items, the regular symbols which appear with Lord Vishnu always. The demigods worshipped the Lord with great reverence and then requested to the Supreme Lord, "O Master of the universe, please come to our rescue by dividing yourself into 4 and becoming the sons of Maharaj Dashrath for the purpose of killing Ravan." Lord Vishnu replied, "Rest assured, there will no longer be any need to be afraid. I will soon incarnate to rule over the earth for 11,000 years after vanquishing your enemy, the king of the Rakshasas." After saying this, Lord Vishnu disappeared as the demigods looked on with wonder. Meanwhile, from the sacrificial fire of Maharaj Dashrath, there appeared an exceptional being of dark complexion with all auspicious bodily features. This personality appeared to be unlimitedly powerful. He was decorated with transcendental ornaments, and in his hand he carried a large golden pot of sweet rice. That divine person then told Maharaj Dashrath, I am the messenger of Lord Vishnu. With folded hands, the king replied, O Vishnu Dut, please order me to perform whatever service I can render. The servant of Lord Vishnu said, this pot of sweet rice is the reward for your 2 sacrificial performances. Give portions to your 3 wives to eat. Through them you shall beget 4 sons who will forever perpetuate your fame. Maharaj Dashrath happily accepted the sweet rice and circumambulated the Vishnu Duta. After Lord Vishnu's messenger disappeared from the view, Maharaj Dashrath quickly gave portions of the sweet rice to his wives, for he was eager to have sons. Maharaj Dashrath gave Kaushalya 1/2 of the sweet rice, Sumitra 1/4, and Kekai 1/8. And after some deliberation, he gave the remaining 1/8 to Sumitra. All the 3 wives were overjoyed and they were confident that they soon become mothers. The 3 queens eagerly ate their shares and soon thereafter each felt the presence of divine offspring within their wombs. When Maharaj Dashrath understood that his wives were expecting, he too became very satisfied. Meanwhile, Lord Brahma ordered the demigods as follows: beget partial manifestations of yourself to assist Lord Vishnu in his forthcoming incarnation, the children which you produce in the form of monkeys, by uniting with the Apsaras, she-monkeys and female yakshas, nagas, vidyadharas and other celestial beings, must be capable of assuming any form at will and must possess all other mystic powers. In addition, they must be very intelligent, highly skilled in the use of weapons, having prowess almost equal to Lord Vishnu, and possess ethereal bodies. After receiving the order of Lord Brahma, Indra begot Vali, Surya begot Sugriv, Brihaspati begot Tara, Kuver begot Gandhamada, Vishwakarma begot Nalan, Varun begot Sushen, and Vayu begot Hanuman. Besides these principal monkeys, many thousands of others took birth to assist Lord Vishnu in his mission. All of them were gigantic like gods who begot them. These monkeys were So I think the connection went for a split second. So I'll repeat this sentence. All of them were gigantic like mountains and were very eager to fight with Ravan like the demigods who begot them. These monkeys were born just after conception. They were so powerful that they could agitate the ocean with their impetuous energy. So we shall continue from here onwards tomorrow. And so the beautiful Ramayana has begun, and tomorrow I think we'll be hearing about the birth of the royal princes, the 4 princes, which is actually none other than Supreme Personality of Himself coming in 4 different as coming as 4 different beings. And they say just hearing about this these pastimes of Lord is so purifying. So that's why we are trying to do our little yagya together, because hearing is the only thing possible for us in this yuga. We can't perform the big yagyas, or can do the austerities, or can make beautiful temples as they could in the previous yuga. So all we can do is hear nicely and chant the names of the Lord nicely. So I wish you all a very, very blissful week ahead, and I hope we will continue this reading together. Hariyam Tat Sat. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna.